I would have never thought I would hold in my hand a game titled Shaq Fu, A Legend Reborn. But here we are, and it's in my hands for sure. I didn't even know this game released until I walked into a GameStop and saw it on a shelf and said, fuck, I gotta cover this. This has to be a bad game. A sequel to Shaq Fu from the 1990s? Dude. This is prime gold fucking material right here. The best thing about turning on my Switch and owning this game is seeing Shaq's cartoon face plopped on my screen. You know you're in for a hell of a ride with that fucking grin he's got. But then I pressed on his damn face and was greeted to a 2-minute long loading screen. Immediately I thought to myself, well fuck, maybe this game is as bad as I thought. But then... This game is hype, son. But legitimately, I stared at this title screen going, damn, I'm gonna have a good fucking time playing this. And that's not just because I like bad games. I tried to pick easy, but Shaq told me not to in this line right here. My dude Shaq is always looking out for me. In this game, Shaq is an orphan who was found in a Chinese river and was made fun of for being so goddamn big. But to be fair, he is a giant. So fuck you, you giant loser who's really good at basketball and is really rich. You suck. Because of all the mental torture that Shaq dealt with, an old man named Yi decides to teach Shaq to fight and become a master at Wu Jing, which is apparently a fighting technique. And oh shit, there's that fucking grin again, I love it! But then the village gets attacked, and the only one who could save it is obviously Shaquille O'Neal. Unlike the first Shaq Fu game, this is a beat 'em up. And out of the 3 beat 'em ups I've covered recently, this one is by far the best, and playing as Shaq is only one of the reasons why it's better. Of course, just like any other beat 'em up, you go left to right messing up bad guys. But this game has depth, surprisingly. I know, it's shocking. You attack with the Y button, a standard attack, nothing special. But when you attack enough in a row, you get access to the size 22 attack, which is Shaq's giant shoe sweeping or stomping on enemies. It's actually extremely satisfying to use this technique as it hits a lot of enemies and it's fucking hilarious to watch. Outside of the size 22 attack, you get to blitz an enemy by pressing L or R. This attack is needed to quickly kill enemies such as the Banshee because it stuns them and allows Shaq to slam their ass down. A shockwave attack called the Shaq Wave, of course, is also usable as long as Shaq has the right amount of blue energy, which for some reason is yellow on the HUD, but whatever. You can also pick up some enemy weapons or objects off the ground and smack enemies around with them, which almost always feels extremely satisfying. Look at me bust up these goons with a no booty street sign. This is amazing, but that is still not all. At certain points in levels, you get power-ups, and my god, this is probably the best part of the game. There's the Shaq Diesel, which puts Shaq in a suit that's kind of reminiscent of Shaq in the movie Steel, but also not really. It says Big Day on it though, and that's hilarious. Basically, you're unstoppable, and Shaq pummels enemies by holding down the attack button. The only downside is that you have to watch and make sure you don't overheat. But all you have to do if you get close to overheating is press the A button for the Shaq Wave, which kills enemies anyway, so there's no downside at all. Fuck that. Just pay attention, idiot. The other power-up is probably the greatest power-up I've ever seen in terms of design. You get to play as Shaquille O'Neal in a cactus costume, otherwise known as Shaqtus. I laughed so hard when I first saw this. And look at how stoked Shaq is to be putting on this costume. He fucking loves it. This basically acts like the Shaq Diesel power-up in that you hold down the attack button and fuck up enemies mad easy. The only thing different is that you're really not invincible this time. I died as Shaqtus and it was pretty sad. But don't worry, if you're low on health, you can always punch shit in the level and pick up some. And at certain points, the game blesses you with a full health item, which is straight up a jar of Icy Hot. And every time Shaq picks it up, he says, "Icy Hot. Nice." And that's beautiful. Thank you, game devs. The only thing really wonky about the combat is jumping. The jumping is very stiff and uncontrollable in the air, which leads to jumping right into enemy attacks. Here's a fucking solution though, just don't jump, bitch. Nah, but really though, the jump attack really only helped me once or twice, so take that as you will. Oh yeah, you can also roll with the right analog stick, so that's neat. The enemies you fight are surprisingly varied in design and strategy. Of course, you have the standard punching bag enemies in each level. The guys you straight up murder with a couple of punches, only there to assist the bigger, much more powerful enemies of the stage. Just look at them. They're pretty much all just skin swaps of each other. Check out the real tough guys though. You got the big shield guy in which you break his shield with a combo for an opening. There's also the big rocker dude that you beat up and avoid their guitar axe swings. Other types of enemies include ranged enemies that hit you with a bunch of different shit like firecrackers, fire, and purple sugar or some shit. Then there's my least favorite enemy types, the mid-range attackers. You had to blitz into them and you only have a limited number of blitzes that you could do in a row, and they killed me a lot lot, so I hold a lot of resentment, especially to these chain assholes. At one point, Shaq ends up fighting hordes of Nazis. Well, they're fascists, but let's be real, they're Nazis. I know most of these might feel like reskins, but every time I fight a new enemy, it feels like a new enemy. Sometimes it's because they have some differences, but most of the time it's because of the back and forth between Shaq and the enemy he's fighting that the game shows before the fight starts. And some of these are gold.
Are you one of them new Ghostbusters?
Look on this subpoena, Shaq. You'll never touch my clock.
In the words of my man Bill Shakespeare, first thing we do is kill all the lawyers.
I can't decide whether to wear chaps or lederhosen to the cotillion.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Look at these fucking bosses. They are hilariously designed and most have a challenge to them. The first stage end boss is a pushover, but after that they're challenging and give you a good run for your money. Like this Paris Hilton inspired boss that is actually difficult. She throws her fucking dog at you, which is annoying enough, but she also has an attack called the Photon Torpedo, which is brilliantly named. You gotta click back and forth on the D-pad to get out of it while your health depletes from it. Oh, and it's unavoidable, which is a hassle. It's hectic and you need to react quickly, otherwise you'll die a fuck ton like I did. And then you straight up fight a booty bro, which is also fucking hilarious. And before the battle, it shows a taco about to go into a girl's ass. Like, I'm so confused here. I won't show you all the bosses. I'll leave those as a surprise for those who actually want to play the game. But before I stop talking about Shaq Fu, a Legend Reborn, I have to give a shout out to the animators behind the cutscenes of this game. I think that they are beautifully animated and they deserve a shout out just for that. And also, the dialogue in this game is hilarious, so good job to the writers. Anyways, I'm done. I highly recommend this game. I don't want to go too much into detail to make sure you guys see all the surprises and humor it has in store. I gotta give credit to the developers for this game because it is actually really good, and Shaq obviously had a blast making it, so that's awesome. I wouldn't recommend picking up the retail version like I did though, because it's twice the price as the online version, and for whatever reason, I love furthering myself into debt. Thanks, Wired Productions! And you could tell Shaq had a freaking blast making it. Fuck, I don't want to say freaking. I don't want to say freaking. Fuck is my word. All in all, I highly recommend this game. All in all, I recommend this game highly, and I think that the developers put a lot of work into this game, and they deserve some credit because it is clearly. And you can also tell that Shaq had a fucking blast making it because he's fucking Shaquille O'Neal, you know? He's got a lot of money, why not make a game? I gotta give credit to the developers here because they actually made a good game, and I thought it was gonna be crappy, so, you know, fucking. Fuck, dude. I can't get this. I gotta give credit to the developers, though, because they obviously made a really good game, and you know what? Fuck it.